this to Category 5,
right?
correct?
And
why would they do that?
Well, because they knew it was going to be a Category 5, and they knew it was going to happen shortly. And it's significant to have a Category 5 storm, in the southern Gulf of Mexico. It's it warrants an advisory saying, hey, look at this. This storm is extremely powerful. One of the most powerful storms ever recorded in the southern Gulf of Mexico. And it looks like it's going to even get stronger over the next,
storm. So it is a very powerful storm. Now, it is going to weaken before it makes landfall on our coastline, but we're still talking about a major hurricane making landfall. So this is an extremely, extremely dangerous situation along the west coast of Florida. Hurricane watches and the storm watches are out. Those will be upgraded as we go through the day to warnings. Now, we're looking at all the various computer models, and typically we're looking at these and they're really honing in. The models have struggled just because there's so many moving parts to this forecast as far as all the different components with the cold fronts and everything. So it's going to continue to be really somewhat of a guessing game as we go through the next several days. And those small changes in this forecast track, they could potentially make very big differences on the impacts that you feel at your house. But regardless of any of that, the storm surge, that is still coming, and that is going to be life-threatening along the coastline, potentially 8 to 12 feet from that center to the right of where this is. So right now, this is now a Category 5 hurricane. You can see that very small eye with this. Now, this is a small, compact storm right now, but small storms like this, they go through eye wall replacement cycles. So as this fluctuates and it goes through one of those, the storm will weaken. But as it weakens, it will also expand in size. And it's quite possible that we could see this go through a couple of eye wall replacement cycles. So it'll be a weaker storm, but it's going to be a larger storm by the time it works its way over us. So here is now the special advisory, winds at 160 miles an hour, still moving to the east-southeast at 9 miles an hour. So it's working its way right near the Yucatan Peninsula. But as we go through the next several days, you see it making that turn and then working its way much closer to us as we head into Tuesday, heading into Wednesday, making landfall along our coastline. Now, we're always telling you, don't focus in on the line because it can still go anywhere in here. But I will tell you, anywhere from the line to the right, that's where you're going to feel the worst part of this. That's that strongest side of this. So if the center of this goes to your south, you're on that better side of the storm. If the center of this goes to your north, you're on that worst side of the storm. Where's that center going to go? Too close to call at this point. But right now, the latest idea is this could head right over Tampa Bay or potentially even to the north of Tampa Bay. And that is really a worst case scenario for the Tampa Bay region as far as that storm surge, getting that maximum storm surge into the bay. So we've got the watch out essentially for all of Central Florida, extending inland as well. This is a powerful storm. It will be moving along, so even well away from the coastline, there will be those hurricane force winds. Right now, Sky Tower radar showing conditions not bad. I mean, so you still have time to finish your preparations. If you're going to evacuate, if you've been ordered to evacuate, you want to heed those warnings. You want to move away from the coastline. You don't want to run from the wind. You hide from the wind. You run from the water. We'll talk more about what the models are talking about and that storm surge potential coming up in just a little bit, Linda.
All right, Jim, thank you. With Hurricane Milton still churning and getting stronger in the Gulf, Governor Ron DeSantis stressed there is still time to make your plans, especially if you need to evacuate.
You have time to be able to do this today. And again, you don't have to evacuate hundreds of miles. If you're in those barrier islands, if you're in areas that are susceptible to storm surge, you go to areas that are not susceptible to that. Every place, every county has places within them where you can go to. Maybe it's a friend's house, maybe it's a hotel, maybe it's a shelter. We have the ability to withstand wind in Florida with most of our buildings, and nothing would be designated as a shelter if it couldn't withstand that. So that's an option, especially if you're not comfortable getting on the road and traveling a great distance. You don't have to do that.
In Pinellas County, officials just issued mandatory evacuations for special needs and electric-dependent residents in zones A, B, and C. And they also recommend zones D and E evacuate too if you're special needs or electric-dependent. Sunset Beach also just reopened at noon to residential vehicle traffic so people there can get any last-minute belongings before evacuation orders are given. Fox 13's Kaylee Tracy is live in Treasure Island with more on that. Kaylee, what can you tell us?
Hey, well, there has been a FEMA debris site here, Linda, since about last week. It's in the park right in front of Treasure Island's City Hall here. And city officials, they tell me state crews are helping them clear this debris. If they can't get it all cleared in time, it will be secured here. A lot of the streets here are still full of debris. Some residents still emptying out their homes the best they can before the next storm. And city and state crews and contractors are also working around the clock to remove debris across Pinellas County. Anyone can now take storm debris to the solid waste disposal facility around 34th Street gate there in Pinellas County 24/7. St. Pete also just announced they have a new debris site for residents and private haulers. That is on 72nd Street North. That's across from the Azalea Park there. That is open 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. County officials also ask you, before you leave for Milton, please secure debris that may still be left outside your home. Put a tarp over it or put it in your garage if you have one. County self-serve sandbag sites are also open across the county. You can find more information on that on the county's website, on our website as well. Another thing the county is doing, they're working with state and local partners and contractors to clear as much sand from Hurricane Helene and debris again as possible. Sunset Beach and Paso Grill have been cleared of sand. And back out here in Treasure Island, we saw these comfort stations that were set up just about a week ago here for residents who lost everything, who weren't able to shower at home, weren't able to wash their hands, go to the bathroom in their own homes. Well, they have since been cleared. There's just this one here still out here. We've seen crews out this morning, though, hauling those away in preparations for Milton because they want to make sure this area is clear as it can be for safety issues. But just a sobering sight to see these comfort stations that are helping people from the last storm now moved away for this impending storm. Guys, back to you.
Yeah, it is not the sight any of us wanted to see. All right, Kaylee Tracy reporting live. Thank you. In Pasco County, there are mandatory evacuation orders for certain areas. Fox 13's Regina Gonzalez has more on who's been told to leave, and she filed this report from Wesley Chapel earlier this morning.
Well, here in Pasco County, mandatory evacuations are officially in effect for zones A and B. So that's mobile homes, manufactured homes, low-lying areas, and then, of course, flood-prone areas. And voluntary evacuations are in effect for zone C. Now, officials are urging people to first plan on staying with family, friends, neighbors, or even at hotels more inland if possible. If not, you can self-evacuate directly to one of these shelters that will officially open this afternoon at noon. So just a couple of minutes ago, Centennial Middle School in Dade City, 5A High School in Hudson, Wesley Chapel High School, River Ridge Middle and High Schools in Newport Richey, and then the Fasano Regional Hurricane Center in Hudson is going to be a special needs only shelter. Now, as we head into the Pasco County EOC, it is an all hands on deck situation there. They said starting today, things are going to go from operating on a 12-hour basis to around the clock ahead of Milton's landfall. In a Sunday press conference, they stressed to vulnerable residents to take these warnings seriously. They said to use Helene as an example. They also stressed to keep in mind that there's another life-threatening hazard added to this mix, and that's the thousands of cubic yards of debris left from Helene in some of these neighborhoods.
The debris in and of itself presents such a complicating factor. If we had Hurricane Milton coming before us without this debris, the operation would be an entirely different story. But with this debris, it represents in the wind, it represents a hazard to our first responders just trying to even respond.
Now, some of this debris was originally brought to the Magnolia Golf Course, and it's in the process of being relocated to a more remote location to get away from nearby homes. You can also do your part, though, by dropping debris off at the West Pasco Resource Recovery Center in Spring Hill. That'll be open 24/7 until conditions deteriorate ahead of Milton. If you can't, County Administrator Mike Caraballa encourages you to secure it on your own property. Meanwhile, 2 sandbag stations are going to be available 24/7 at Magnolia Valley Golf Course and Pasco County Public Works. 2 additional sites are going to be open from sunrise to sunset at Veterans Memorial Park and Pasco Fire Rescue Station 29. Keep in mind that these sandbag locations are self-serve. They're going to try and restock sand and sandbags as they can, weather permitting. As you make these last-minute preparations, local leaders are also urging folks to sign up for Pasco Alert, so that way you can get any text messages or emails as we start to see conditions from Milton when it inches closer to Florida. For now, I'm Regina Gonzalez reporting in Wesley Chapel. We'll send it back to you.
Regina, thank you. A heads up now, if you still need sandbags, pretty much every county has filling stations open today. In Hillsborough, they have at least 5 of them, and they all opened at 8 a.m. and they'll close at 7 p.m. In Pinellas County, Oldsmar is opening a sandbar station at 10. It's in the parking lot of the Oldsmar Sports Complex. And if you go, most stations limit you to 10 bags per vehicle. And they also don't guarantee shovels, so you might want to bring your own. And you also may need your ID to prove that you do live in that county. Also, pack your patience, prepare to wait. Tampa had a 2-hour line yesterday. Northeast Park in St. Pete had a 90-minute wait. Most Bay Area schools are already closed ahead of the storm, and that includes Hillsborough and Pinellas. Only 3 districts are open today, Citrus, Hernando, and Polk, but all 3 are expected to close starting tomorrow and at least through Wednesday because they need those schools as shelters. Tampa International Airport will close at 9 a.m. tomorrow and stay closed until they assess any damage from the storm. And St. Pete Clearwater International Airport will close after the last flight Tuesday and remain closed Wednesday and Thursday. For more information on sandbag locations, evacuations, closures, and Milton's latest track, download the Fox Local mobile app now. You can also visit our website, fox13news.com. On our website are links to all county emergency websites. And if you don't know your evacuation zone, go there and look it up now. Again, you need to know your evacuation zone. If you don't, fox13news.com is the place to go. Click on this image, find your county, and look up your zone. There's a ton of more information from each county on there for you. We're back right after this.
ATVs, the shallow water boats, the high water rescue vehicles, everything is already deployed. Manpower is allocated. We are ready for anything that comes our way. But we pray for the best. And our thoughts and prayers are those that were just affected with Helene across the state. So please, if nothing else today, pay very close attention and get out of harm's way. When we hit a sustained wind of 45 miles an hour or more, we no longer respond. The Sheriff's Office, EMS, fire, all the local personnel, emergency responders will not be able to get to you. And then it is too late. So make sure you take action today, be proactive, get to a safe place no matter what. And afterwards, like the commissioner said, we can rebuild buildings, we can fix roadways, but we can't bring back lives. And we never want to lose one person. Safety is always going to be paramount. And rest well knowing that the great people in this county who are standing here, the decision makers, we got you. We got you every step of the way. Your safety is paramount, and we will ensure it. We ask of you to help us and be part of that team. So we'll be giving you updates throughout the storm. But again, Mother Nature being unpredictable, get out of harm's way now. It's most important. It's my honor to introduce our family from the Florida Highway Patrol, Lieutenant Greg Bueno. Thank you. Yes, sir. Thank
you. Good afternoon. The Florida Highway Patrol is focusing on keeping our evacuation routes open and free-flowing as possible. Additionally, as the week progresses, we will be assisting with our local and county partners at every activated emergency operations center across the state and with any requested missions. We too want to reiterate the importance of following the advice of your local county operations centers and officials. If traveling to another area, be sure to have a plan in place, all needed supplies for your family, and that your vehicle is in good working condition. And as a reminder, it's better to evacuate sooner than later. Star FHP is available as a service to the public should motorists need assistance. Stay calm stay informed, and stay safe. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I'd also like to add to that, this storm is unprecedented. We haven't seen a storm that's come across so much water like this directly at us. So it could be catastrophic. So let's all pay attention. The next 24 hours is going to be very important, obviously, and we want everyone to be safe. So you're going to get a lot of communication. Please pay attention, and if we're asked to leave, please leave. At this time, I'm going to bring up Ben Abbas to answer some questions. So thank you. Any questions?
So around what time do you expect to maybe possibly send out other evacuation orders?
We're constantly evaluating the current intensity, track, and especially the storm surge forecast. We get those updates from the Weather Service now every 3 hours with a full package every 6 hours. Every time those forecast cycles occur, we're constantly reevaluating that information to see if additional evacuations may be necessary.
Okay, you've been listening live to our Lee County leaders who have ordered mandatory evacuations for zones A and B. They want everybody who is in those zones to get to a safe place by tomorrow evening. They also talked about opening shelters here in Lee County, and they've suspended the tolls, and the Florida Highway Patrol urged anyone who needs to evacuate to do so early. You can call Star FHP with any issues that you encounter on the roads. All right, right now, I think we want to check back in with the Weather Authority, get the very latest. This thing has gone.
It's going to be lining the streets. It's going to be all over the place. I mean, they say it's going to be a good wind event, so that's my main concern. I usually don't board up the windows at my house, but I am this time just because I'm worried about the wind.
Again, this is the scene at McKay Bay Waste Management Resource Facility. I would assume that it's going to be a similar scene at the other facilities all across Hillsborough County, as well as the city of Tampa. They are open here from 7 until 7 o'clock tonight. And again, time is of the essence. Everybody's trying to get rid of the storm debris before Milton arrives. In Hillsborough County, Walter Allen, Fox 13 News.
Thanks, Walter. Really is hard when you see images like that, not to feel anxiety right now, but if you prepare for the worst, just go ahead and prepare. That does help take some of the edge off.
In preparing, that's all you can do. So we can't worry about anything else. We just do the best that we can. And have some patience with everybody else.
That's right. Be kind.
Yes, exactly. Yes. But this is obviously going to be an extremely stressful event. Things are going to be changing as we go through the next couple of days. But bottom line is we're all preparing for really the worst at this point. I mean, that's what we preach all the time with this is you prepare for the worst, you hope for the best. And that's exactly what we have to do right now. So this is now a Category 5. You look at all the lightning around the center of this, and that's always that indication of an extremely strong storm. And that's exactly what we have. Very small eye. So we're going to start to see this going through what we call those eye wall replacement cycles. And as it does so, the intensity of it fluctuates. It's really, really difficult for a storm to become this strong and maintain that intensity the whole way through. They just can't do it. So it will go through those eye wall replacement cycles, but as it does so, as it weakens, it also gets strong, it gets larger. So the storm, it will grow in size. Right now, winds are at 160 miles an hour. It's currently moving to the east-southeast at 9 miles an hour, but that track hasn't changed much. But we're going to watch this over the next several days because those little small changes, they could spell big differences in the impacts that we feel. But essentially, anywhere within this yellow zone, that's where the center of this still could go. We could still see this pushing a bit further to the south. We could still see this going a bit further to the north because models have been all over the place. The models have really, really struggled with this. But anywhere, if you're, say, right at that line to the right of it, so you're to the right of the center as it comes ashore, you are going to be in the worst part of this. So we also have the warnings, or the watches rather, along the coastline. Those will be upgraded into warnings later on today. Computer models, there you're seeing still a decent spread in the models, so that tells us there's still a lot of uncertainty in this, but you're noticing more and more of a cluster of these just to our north. So what we've been talking about for years and years. This is really that worst case scenario that we've always worried about. So we have to prepare for this in case it actually comes to fruition here. So one of the things we're also watching is as we go through the next several days, we do have that stronger wind, that wind shear, which is to the north of this system. So right now it's sitting in an area that conditions are favorable for that intensification. That's exactly why we've seen that. The warm water, the light wind shear. But as this works its way over into the eastern Gulf and pulls a bit further to the north, this is all strong wind. So that will tend to weaken this storm. That's why we are calling for this storm to weaken. It will also start to pull in some dry air. Some dry air from the north will be pulled in. We call it dry air entrainment. So we need these things to weaken this storm. The slower the storm goes and gets into some of the strong wind, that will start to weaken the storm even more. So those are things that we actually want to happen. We want it to slow down and be subjected to that strong wind shear for a long time.
This storm has rapidly strengthened. The shear area just off towards the north, this system Milton has been able to stay just towards the south of that. As it heads towards the wind shear profile on Wednesday, that will allow it to weaken a little bit before it moves onshore and makes landfall across West Florida. So again, we have seen Milton rapidly strengthen. It's a major hurricane today, and we're seeing this remain at major hurricane strength tonight and into tomorrow. The highest surge, the most impactful weather arrives on Wednesday, especially Wednesday afternoon and evening. So here's the latest. Our tropical impacts, heavy rain and storms likely on Wednesday. Flood watch will continue from today, tomorrow into Wednesday. Gusts up to 90 miles per hour, may have higher gusts than that as well. We'll have our team of meteorologists, Chief Meteorologist Matt Devitt coming on later in the afternoon. Stay up to date with him as his information can be upgraded and heightened. Again, we have that threat for tornadoes on Wednesday morning, midday, afternoon, and evening. And again, that threat for storm surge, 5 to 10 feet for Lee and Charlotte counties, 4 to 7 feet across portions of Collier County. This is one of two systems. The first system we're watching is bringing heavy rain right now, and for more
storm and start to disrupt that circulation. You're also noticing the eye looking a bit more ragged. That's some of that dry air that will start to get entrained into the system, so that will tend to weaken it some, but this is still going to be an extremely dangerous situation moving basically right over the top of us as we head into, looks like, late Wednesday and into early Thursday. For today, you still have time to prepare. You want to rush to completion on this. 82 degrees, some scattered showers around, and then that 7-day forecast. Everything heading our way as we head into Wednesday night, and then we'll clear things out as we head towards the weekend and those daytime highs back into the mid-80s, Linda.
All right, Jim, thanks. If you're thinking about heading to a shelter, don't forget the basics. Take things that will keep you comfortable, and of course, any medicines that you will need. Take things to pass the time for entertainment. It may not be the lap of luxury where you're staying, but you will be safe. Also, be sure to check for a pet-friendly shelter if you need one.
Kind of rainfall, you're not along the coast. If you're in a sturdy structure, then, and you had your hurricane shutters up, then I'd say, you could stay. But again, you got to watch the track over the next 12 to 24 hours. If this thing shifts to the south and it's more of a Sarasota storm, then you're not going to want to stay. So I'd rather be safe than sorry. If you have somewhere in Naples you can go, then I would do that, just in case. I always tell people I'd rather prepare and do something for a storm and then have it really mean nothing, right, than stay and then all of a sudden you're in a life-threatening situation. So, I would say anywhere in this cone, if you could get out of the cone right now, that would be more ideal than taking a chance.
All right, next up, Matt in Pinellas from WFLA.com/report it.
I'm in Pinellas County. I'm not in any evacuation zone or anything, so I'm not planning on evacuating. But is there anything I should consider that maybe would make evacuation a good idea?
I couldn't quite hear what he was saying.
Matt, we're gonna try to load you back, and I'll try to bring it up on the in-house speakers here.
Hi.
We just wrong one. Hold on, coming back. Now here's this one.
I'm not in any evacuation zone or anything, so I'm not planning on evacuating. But is there anything I should consider that maybe would make evacuation a good idea?
Did you say
Pinellas? I'll try one more because it broke up there at the beginning.
Right.
Hey, this is Jerry from Winter Haven. I'm sitting here waiting for sandbags. I do have a question for you. When the storm is passing through, where are the strongest winds going to be? Are they going to be on the south side of the storm, or are they going to be on the north side of the storm?
So definitely on the north side of the storm.
Matt, we'll come back your way in just a second.
Right.
I'll try to replay that, but let's get to Jerry.
It's looking like the heaviest rain and the strongest winds are going to be right in that northern eye wall. Very similar to Ian, right? Normally, the strongest wind and heavy rain will be on the eastern side of the storm. As this interacts with a jet, it's going to transition a bit, and I do think that the northern side, the northern eye wall, is going to have the strongest wind and the heaviest rain.
Okay, now back to Matt. We're going to try to reload Matt back into the queue here. Matt, let's do it and see if it works.
Hey, I'm in Pinellas County. I'm not in any evacuation zone or anything, so I'm not planning on evacuating. But is there anything I should consider that maybe would make evacuation a good idea?
Well, definitely consider the structure that you're in. If this follows the track, you're looking at well over 100 mile per hour sustained wind, possibly gusting over 140. Okay, and again, I'm looking at worst case scenario. So, can your house, wherever you're at, can it withstand that? Is a glass in your window going to be blown out? If a projectile, is flying around, somebody's lawn chair, somebody's whatever, a table, and it hits your window, and is that glass going to come flying in? Or, is it safe to be in your structure? If I lived in Pinellas County, I would evacuate. That's just me, though. I'd rather be safe than sorry. But I know a lot of people that aren't in evacuation zones are going to stay. And, we pray that the structures that you're in can withstand. If you have hurricane shutters,
low-lying area, your property floods, or if you're in a structure you do not think can handle high-level hurricane force winds, we advise you to make shelter plans starting tomorrow and before midday Wednesday.
Officials say in addition to shutting off electricity to their homes, anyone evacuating should remove any electric vehicles, scooters, or tech with lithium batteries to avoid fires. We saw a number of those. Well, there's still time to throw together a hurricane kit, and there's a good chance many people, as we just mentioned, are going to need it when they lose power. So here's some things that you can get still. Flashlights and batteries, cell phone chargers, battery-operated radios, non-perishable food and water, a manual can opener, a first aid kit, prescription medications, very important, personal hygiene items, blankets, rain gear, extra clothing, baby care items, and food for your pets.
If you are relying on Amazon reviews to help you decide on a purchase.
Clock advisory, folks. We got another 20 or so minutes here answering your questions. Let's get in one more video question and then come back to the hashtag-based ones at a Facebook Live and on YouTube Live. Next up, we've got Bree. She's joining us from Lee County. Let's bring Eric and I back up on screen. Again, Bree in Lee County.
Hi, so some of us are out here working through all of this, so we don't get to go on and check as much. Is there a better way to get updates sent to your phone, especially if there's something that's important that we really need to know?
Okay, so Bree's question, I know Eric, I didn't have the speaker up very loud.
Well, I mean,
about staying up to date.
I got the end of it. Yeah, you could go on the National Weather Service page. You can get updates via text, via email, and there'll be links in those texts that you can click on. As soon as, like, when our phones automatically start buzzing like crazy when there's a hurricane warning, right? And that just automatically happens. But as far as even tornado warnings. And I wouldn't be surprised in Southwest Florida or maybe slightly north of Fort Myers if there were some spin-ups with this as it makes its way closer to the West Coast. So you'll get those updates, and it will say Lee County, Charlotte County. You can actually pick what counties you want the text messages on your phone to include. And once it sends you that text message, you click the link. You just hit it with your finger, and the entirety of that warning will pop up.
Okay. We're going to return to questions and comments from Facebook Live and YouTube.
Relief will arrive. Thank you for joining us on Wink News at noon. I'm Amanda Hall. We know everyone is thinking and worrying about Hurricane Milton. Our Wink News Weather Authority team has been tracking it very closely. Today we have meteorologist Zach Malak and Lauren Kreidler with us here at noon. So let's start with you, Zach. What can we expect now?
Amanda, this is the latest information as of the National Hurricane Center coming in at noon. Milton is now a Category 5 hurricane, the first Category 5 hurricane we have seen in the Gulf of Mexico since Hurricane Ian in late September of 2022. Of course, don't have to say that too long. Milton has strengthened rapidly since 4:30 a.m. this morning. When I came on to Wink News' coverage at 4:30 a.m. this morning, I was forecasting and tracking a Category 1 hurricane at 90-mile-per-hour winds. Right now, Milton is a Category 5 with 160-mile-per-hour winds. Before our eyes, in the last 6.5 hours, I should say, maybe even 7.5 hours now, we have seen this storm rapidly intensify from a Category 1 to a Category 5 storm. All right, so here's where it goes from here. It's going to remain a Category 5 strength as it heads towards the east, staying just north of the Yucatan Peninsula from now through tomorrow morning. From there, it'll turn to the northeast, getting picked up from the jet stream, heading towards the west coast of Florida, impacting the west coast of Florida on Wednesday. What you see is some weakening of this system as it approaches the west coast of Florida. That's thanks to wind shear that will allow this system to weaken a little bit. Still, though, forecasting a major hurricane impacting the west coast of Florida on Wednesday. As the system will weaken, it'll actually be getting larger and spreading farther out. That is why parts of southwest Florida are under a hurricane watch. In fact, every single one of us under hurricane watches right now: Collier County, Lee County, Charlotte County, DeSoto County, as well as Glades, Highlands, and Hendry counties, all under hurricane watches. Wednesday is the day. Heavy rain and storms, damaging wind gusts, storm surge is likely. We will see storm surge with this event, so keep that in mind as you prepare for Wednesday. Going to have to prepare through a lot of rain that continues to move in. Rain showers, storms will continue to arrive throughout the day today. We'll have team coverage not only on the heavy rain impact today and tomorrow, but also Milton's impact on our area coming up right here in the next 10 minutes.
All right, and right now we want to get live to Lee County's Director of Public Safety, who's holding a press conference. Let's listen in.
Because of these conditions, the county is ordering a mandatory evacuation of zones A and B effective today at noon. If you live in one of these zones, you should complete your preparations and move to an area outside of the evacuation zone by Tuesday evening. Again, this is a mandatory evacuation of zones A and B. Everyone in zones A and B should move to a safe place by Tuesday evening. If the forecast track or intensity changes, more evacuations may be necessary later today or tomorrow morning. And as a reminder, you'll be much more comfortable if you have a friend or family member's home to go to outside of these evacuation zones. But if you don't have a plan, we are beginning the process today of opening some emergency shelters. These shelters will open today at 3 p.m. to help support those that would like to move a little bit early. These 3 shelters are Island Coast High School in North Cape Coral, Dunbar High School in Fort Myers, and Estero Recreation Center in Estero. All Lee County shelters accept pets. You must have them in a crate or on a leash. And for more information about the shelters that are open, please visit leegov.com/storm. Again, you don't necessarily need to leave today. You only need to be in a safe place by Tuesday evening. Tomorrow morning, we will announce more shelters that will be available to the community. but we encourage you to make more comfortable arrangements by staying with a friend or family member outside of these evacuation zones. In addition to these efforts, we have started our special needs shelter call down, and that facility will open today. Only those that have pre-registered qualify for this shelter, and pre-registration closes once Lee County is in a 5-day forecast cone. Again, for the most up-to-date information about evacuations and open shelters, please visit leegov.com/storm. Transportation to our shelters is also available. Effective immediately, Lee Tran has suspended fares and all service will be free. You can go to any Lee Tran stop and let the driver know that you're requesting transportation to a shelter. They will get you to a transfer center and then to one of the available shelters. If you require additional assistance with transportation, you can call the Emergency Information Hotline by calling 211 or 239-433-3900. A couple more updates regarding transportation. Effective immediately and with these evacuation orders, tolls on all Lee County bridges have been suspended. This includes the Midpoint Bridge, the Cape Coral Bridge, and the Sanibel Causeway. Also, regarding curfews, we plan to announce information about these as we get closer to the time of impact, and we're working very closely with our municipal partners to ensure that there's coordination of those efforts. Finally, a couple of notes about county operations. Our county offices, as you're aware, closed today at noon, and they'll remain closed through Thursday. Household solid waste collection is suspended Tuesday through Thursday, and we'll be preparing some messaging on Thursday for how household services will be resumed after Milton passes by. We continue to work diligently to collect debris at the curb from Hurricane Helene, but as we said yesterday, please do not place additional debris at the curb. Our crews are working to get the debris that is already out collected before the storm makes its impacts here, and we don't want any new debris to be out while the winds are at their peak. Lee Tran service continues as scheduled today and will continue tomorrow as long as weather conditions allow. And effective at noon today, all Lee Tran buses stopped running routes onto Fort Myers Beach, and all Lee Tran services have converted specifically to off-island transit only. And next
starts to lower. So I would say a prolonged period of time, I would say a good 3 to 5 hours where you could potentially be in that 100 plus mile per hour wind gusts moving at the speed that it's moving now. But you look at these numbers, JB, and again, I hope everybody understands this is a point in time. The models only update, they're updating 3 hours, right? So 8 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, all right? So somewhere between 8 o'clock at night and 2 o'clock in the morning is when the strongest wind speed and wind gusts are going to impact Pinellas and Hillsborough County. And you can see on the point in time at 11 o'clock, those wind gusts are over 100 miles per hour. The strongest could be at midnight, depending on when this makes landfall. And it could be 125, 135.
In Manatee County, mandatory evacuation for everybody on this island. As of right now, you need to leave. It's important, and especially because rescue help cannot get to you in the middle of this storm. They were able to do some water rescues during Helene, a lot of them. That storm was 100 miles offshore. The surge created all the issues. This is going to be a wind event, which means help just won't be able to come until that storm is passed. Police Chief of Holmes Beach, William Tukager, is here. And, I mean, that's the message. If you choose to stay, you will be on your own.
Yeah, you're on your own. With Helene, the water got to be between 4 and 5 feet in surge. They're expecting double that for Milton. We will not be here. The wind alone causes us to have to leave the island. So fire, police, EMS, everybody will be off the island. So there will be nobody to rescue you. So our message is that it's time to go. Make sure you're out of here latest tomorrow afternoon before the winds start coming. You don't want to be out when the winds are coming. You don't want to be there. You don't want to be that person that puts their life in jeopardy for a house that might not be here. You know, with this storm coming through, we don't know what the island's going to look like on the other side on Thursday. Yeah. It could be devastating.
You're absolutely right, and don't put your crews in danger either.
Right. Exactly. You know, you can't put our people in danger. I won't do it. My people will be off the island once the winds are sustained at 45 miles an hour.
And the reality is, the mayor pointed this out earlier, is that most people aren't going to be here because they don't have homes to ride this through in.
Exactly. You know, we have very few homes that came through unscathed. Just the newer homes that were raised up. All of our single-story homes, 95 to 100% of them had 6 inches to 3 to 4 feet of water. The mayor's house alone had almost 4 feet of water in it.
Wow. I know you and the county, the state, doing the best to get rid of this debris. If push comes to shove and whatever you have left, you're now telling residents, put it back in a garage or wherever that you can get it out of the way the most, and then leave.
That's correct. Put it in your garage, shut the door, and we'll put it back out after Milton and possibly after the storm that comes Friday after that.
And then if people are leaving, your message is cut the power to your house and don't leave anything with a battery in the garage.
Yes, definitely. No battery, no electric cars, no scooters that are electric, no electric golf carts. Take them out of your house. We've had multiple fires days after when the corrosion gets to the battery that start a fire in the garage and damages the house. Turn off your power, get your electric vehicles out of the garage, get them off the island if you can. If not, get them away from your house.
Thank you, Chief, very much. You stay safe during the storm. Good luck, and
thank you.
We'll see you on the other side.
Yep.
There you go, folks. That is the message. If you're an Anna Maria Island resident, you got to get out and do your best to stay safe, and we'll all do our best to get through this storm together. Charlie Belcher, Fox 13 News.
So we were talking about this, but Milton is a rare one.
It really is. I mean, this is an unusual track, but this is a track this time of the year. Anything that's in the Gulf of Mexico, it's going to end up heading towards Florida. So that's why this is such a problem. And just watching how strong this storm has become, just because the waters are so warm across the Gulf of Mexico.
Unusual that the track still, there's a variety?
Just because there's so many moving parts in this forecast. We're talking about a cold front coming down and the trough and all this, and so that's why you're just seeing an unusual amount of spread than what we've become accustomed to with all these past several storms, where we've just all somewhat marveled in how well the forecast models have done, and with this one, they're struggling. So you just have to we have to count on that this is good affecting us, and we just have to hope that things turn out better for us. But we are somewhere along the West Coast talking about an extremely powerful major hurricane making landfall across our West Coast. Now the hurricane watches and the storm surges watches, they're all up right now. Those will be increased into warnings most likely sometime later on today. Now the big key is going to be exactly where this landfall happens. To the center and to the right of that center, that's where the worst parts of this will be. So we're always telling you, don't focus in on the exact line, and I don't want you to necessarily focus in on it. I just want you to understand that's where the worst parts of it are. But anywhere inside that yellow shaded area, that is still fair game as far as that landfall. And to say at this point that this track that we're looking at right now, that's what it's going to be, it's just not realistic, especially with all the uncertainty that we do have with this. But we are going to see that storm surge, and this storm surge is more than likely going to be larger than what we just saw with Helene. Category 5 hurricane right now, very small eye, so this is going to start to go through those eye wall replacement cycles as we go through the next several days. Those eye wall replacement cycles, you get that fluctuation. The storm weakens, but it grows larger as it weakens, and then it rebuilds that eye wall and it starts to ramp back up in intensity. And it's quite possible we could see a couple of these over the next several days. But right now, it's a Category 5. Winds are at 160 miles an hour, working its way very close to the Yucatan, and then you start to see that fluctuation in intensity. Now, as it works its way into the eastern Gulf and getting closer to us, that's where it will start to experience that stronger wind shear. We've been talking about that wind shear across the northern Gulf of Mexico for many, many days, and that's still there, and that will weaken this storm. But even though it weakens it, it's still going to be a very strong and a very dangerous storm, and something we have not experienced on our coastline in a very, very long time. We are talking generations since we have seen something like this across our coastline. So there you're seeing that spread in the computer models, but you're at least seeing somewhat of a clustering a little bit further to the north. So that's that worst case scenario as far as we're concerned here in Tampa Bay, to really pile in all that water across the coastline. There's that shear. That is what will tend to weaken this storm somewhat.
Requested missions. We too want to reiterate the importance of following the advice of your local county operations centers and officials. If traveling to another area, be sure to have a plan in place, all needed supplies for your family, and that your vehicle is in good working condition. And as a reminder, it's better to evacuate sooner than later. Star FHP is available as a service to the public should motorists need assistance. Stay calm, stay informed, and stay safe. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I'd also like to add to that, this storm is unprecedented. We haven't seen a storm that's come across so much water like this directly at us. So it could be catastrophic. So let's all pay attention. The next 24 hours is going to be very important, obviously, and we want everyone to be safe. So you're going to get a lot of communication. Please pay attention, and if we're asked to leave, please leave. At this time, I'm going to bring up Ben Abus to answer some questions. So thank you.
Any questions?
So around what time do you expect to maybe possibly send out other evacuation orders?
So we're constantly evaluating the current intensity, track, and especially the storm surge forecast. We get those updates from the Weather Service now every 3 hours, with a full package every 6 hours. Every time those forecast cycles occur, we're constantly reevaluating that information to see if additional evacuations may be necessary.
Okay, you've been listening live to our Lee County leaders who have ordered mandatory evacuations for zones A and B. They want everybody who is in those zones to get to a safe place by tomorrow evening.
Fox's hit drama 911 Lone Star is back tonight.
And they've suspended the tolls, and the Florida Highway Patrol urged anyone who needs to evacuate to do so early. You can call Star FHP with any issues that you encounter on the roads. All right, right now, I think we want to check back in with the Weather Authority, get the very latest. This thing has gone to Category 5, starting at a Category 1 early this morning. So it has increased rapidly. Let's turn things over to Zach and Lauren.
Yeah, Amanda, right now we're watching the latest in terms of our satellite imagery as of 12:17. Again, watching this system across the area, watching it increase across the area, as I should be saying, how strong it has gone over the last couple of hours. And again, since this morning, again, as we were watching this over the last couple of hours, notice the storm system rapidly strengthening, now up to a Category 5 hurricane. In fact, when I first walked in this morning at 2 a.m. this morning, Milton was a Category 1, 90-mile-per-hour hurricane. It strengthened all the way to a Category 5. You can see this strengthening here since about 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. This strengthening is unprecedented in the Gulf of Mexico. In fact, the only storm system that strengthened this rapidly, this fast, was Hurricane Otis last year in the Pacific. If you recall, strengthened from a tropical storm to a Category 5 within 24 hours. We're seeing that here, and that devastated Acapulco. Now, in terms of our local forecast, Milton is forecast to weaken a bit thanks to wind shear. I'll break that down in a second, but right now, here's the latest information. Hurricane Milton, a 160-mile-per-hour hurricane, moving east-southeast at 9 miles per hour. Forecasts remain a Category 5 strength as it skirts the northern tip of the Yucatan Peninsula. Cancun, Mexico, right there is going to stay just to the north of Cancun. From there, weakening a little bit into a Category 4 by Wednesday morning, and then from there, heading towards the west coast of Florida as a Category 3 hurricane, making landfall around the west coast of Florida by at least Wednesday evening. into Wednesday night. Again, the latest update, the latest cone as of 11 a.m. this morning and noon has parts of Lee County, all of Collier County, parts of Hendry, and parts of Glades counties were moved from that cone. The cone is where the center of the storm can track. Again, we have seen this shift north and south. I have reached out to the National Hurricane Center, and in the last interview I had with them a while ago, I asked them, do they keep in mind city centers when they move this cone and remove certain parts in and out of it? They say, no, we do not. We move the cone by our own idea, and we don't think of the cities coming in and out of the cone because, again, the cone is only forecasting the center of the storm and not the impacts. All of Southwest Florida is going to be impacted by this storm regardless of where the center is going to track. Again, the center can still make landfall across Charlotte County, possibly Sarasota County and DeSoto County on Wednesday.
Hey, I'm Heather Sullivan with Sullivan Smart
Hurricane watches. This includes all of Collier, all of Hendry, all of Glades, all of Lee, Charlotte, DeSoto, and Highlands counties. This is an upgrade and an update. Since this morning, all of Collier, Glades, and Hendry counties have been added to hurricane watches. So here's how we go through time. This system is forecast to remain strong all the way through Wednesday morning. And as wind shear impacts it, we're going to see it get a little bit larger as it heads towards the coast of Southwest Florida, as well as the coast of the West Florida. Again, right now, watching our consensus models, our most accurate average of our models, and latest information has the center of the storm heading towards Sarasota, but we have seen a wobbling effect, and that will be the case as this storm approaches. Here's the most important information and why we're now seeing evacuation zones for A and B in Lee County, as well as updated evacuation zones all over the coast of Southwest Florida. It's our storm surge. 8 to 12 feet of storm surge for Tampa through Sarasota County. 5 to 10 feet of storm surge for Charlotte County and Lee County. 4 to 7 feet of storm surge for Collier County. So again, higher storm surge than we saw with Helene, not as much as Ian, but still watching that threat for storm surge closely as we're all under a storm surge watch. Here is why this storm has rapidly strengthened. The shear area just off towards the north, this system Milton has been able to stay just towards the south of that. As it heads towards the wind shear profile on Wednesday, that will allow it to weaken a little bit before it moves onshore and makes landfall across West Florida. So again, we have seen Milton rapidly strengthen. It's a major hurricane today, and we're seeing this remain a major hurricane.
That we'll kind of end out this particular session with in just a little bit. In fact, let me just show everybody a couple of the ones that are coming in. Thank you, by the way. That was a great question.
Was awesome.
Julia. And let's see, I'll read this out here from the queue, and it says, Julia, Gianna, and London, they are in their living room watching Tracking the Tropics on their television. And yeah, see, this is what we love to see. I mean, thumbs up, you know, folks that are staying weather aware. There are a lot of people in the path of this storm. We encourage everybody to stay as safe as possible, but staying informed, basically watching shows like this one. There are some great options out there to stay weather aware. We hope that you watch us, of course, but at the same time, just anybody out there that's receiving up-to-date information and not relying on, some channels of maybe TikTok or Instagram. Look, go to a credible source for information. Make sure that you know where you're getting your information from. Clearly, we've got some thumbs up here from Julia, Gianna, and London from their living room. I don't think we have.
I like the heart. She almost positioned her head so that heart is like right over top of it.
Oh, look at that!
You see
Love that. And then we are also as well fans of
toppling because of the fact that the ground is so saturated. We've seen that in many storms. So again, this is something to keep in mind when it comes to preparation and the decisions that you make as far as evacuating. If you have large trees around your home, you may decide differently than someone who doesn't. So again, we are looking at the timing of those winds coming on shore. At this point, it looks like the 40 to 58 mile per hour winds will begin early in the day on Wednesday, and then the wind speeds that get between 58 to maybe 73 miles per hour, those will mainly be gusts. So we may see gusts up to about 80 miles per hour across the Tampa Bay area, and that will begin on Wednesday afternoon and continue into the evening. And then we start to see improvement overnight and into early on Thursday. As far as the storm surge, We do have significant storm surge expected as that storm is approaching. We are looking at a very strong major hurricane. And keep in mind, it's like a bulldozer pushing the water against our coastline. And that is how we get that surge. We've seen it in Helene. And again, it is going to be a significant issue here up and down the coastline.
Have been sorting through tons of donations of food, water, clothing, and medicine for those who desperately need it.
It's boots on the ground. Everybody is coming out. They're pitching together. They're cleaning up. They're gathering food, anything they can to go down and actually talk to the people at the sites that are in trouble.
Volunteers say that they're also working to send Starlinks and other technology to hard-hit areas where some people still don't have cell service. In Banner Elk, North Carolina, Madison Scarpino, Fox News.
I know we've said it, but we can't stress enough. Now is the time to know your evacuation zone. If you don't, go to fox13news.com and click on the image, this one, and find your county to look up your zone. Back with another check on the storm with Jim right after this.
We had him before, remember? With Helene, I remember him.
Oh, man, that's awesome.
Yep.
Coming back for more Tracking the Tropics with Michelle sending this in from Naples, Florida. We love to see it. We've got this one coming in from Kono and Shady watching the show. This is Nicholas in Hudson. Look at that. They look a little confused, Eric.
Yeah, I grew up with 2 German Shepherds, so really love those kind of dogs. And they're saying, why aren't you feeding me? What are you watching here?
Well, right. There's better things on TV. What's going on, folks? Eric and I have to step away from the microphones. We will be back, of course, in the 2 o'clock hour. So taking a 1 hour break. Of course, we've been streaming here live since the 11 o'clock update. We will be taking more video-based questions, more hashtag-based questions, and spotlighting a whole lot more on Tracking the Tropics as Hurricane Milton. Again, the topper on this stream was that it's now a Category 5, going to weaken as it gets closer to Florida, much to our benefit. However, Tampa remains in the middle of the cone with a lot of the Tampa Bay area still in that shaded red in a dangerous area with this particular storm. As the storm gets closer, we get more model consensus. We'll have a better idea as to where this is going, and we might have a whole lot more at 5 o'clock. 5 o'clock Eastern is when the new NHC track drops. I want to bring you into our Forecast HQ, everybody. Our Forecast HQ will stay up over the course of the live stream. And if you're joining us on YouTube Live, on WFLA.com, the WFLA app, this is going to be up, and you can continue chatting back and forth.
You still have time to safely get prepared for Hurricane Milton. From sandbag locations to mandatory evacuations, school closures, we are breaking down everything you need to know ahead of the storm.
What drew me to Court TV was this opportunity to combine the two things that I love. When I was in college.
Pasco.net and look up Know Your Zone map. You'll be able to plug your address in, and it'll show you what evacuation zone that you're in. Shelters are open, and we are opening more shelters. Go Pasco will offer free rides to citizens to our shelters. If you can't go to a shelter, go to friends and family. You don't have to go tens of miles. You don't have to go hundreds of miles. Go to a friend's house. Go to family. I will tell you right now that US 19 is actually becoming gridlocked with the evacuation from Pinellas County and Hillsborough County. We had some video footage of traffic flowing all the way into Hernando County, and it is bumper to bumper. If you're going to evacuate, please evacuate now. Today's the last day to prepare. We are reminding everybody to be done by Tuesday evening. That's when we're starting to expect winds, rain, and the damaging winds and rain coming in later that night. If you're leaving your house and you are evacuating, please turn your main breaker off prior to you leaving. That way, when power is lost, when we go to restore power, your house would not be instantly energized, especially houses that are planning on getting surge in them. We all know that light sockets and salt water do not mix. Salt water is a conductor and it corrodes your terminals. So please plan on turning off your power to your house. Also, if you have debris that's out in front of your house that has not been picked up as of yet, I encourage you that anything that can become a flying missile, wood, 2x4s, metal, please try to store them back within your house. And any large objects that can float, dressers, refrigerators, try to get those secured as well. Those objects, after a storm passes through and our first responders are trying to go out there and rescue you, with that debris in the water, they might not be able to. The citizens also need to remember, when winds start getting at 35 miles an hour, operations cease. We will not be able to come out and get you. So please heed the warning, follow mypasco.net, get the Alert Pasco app. They're both very, very beneficial to have. So please, again, I can't ask enough. Please heed the warning.
Evacuations may be necessary later today or tomorrow morning. And as a reminder, you'll be much more comfortable if you have a friend or family member's home to go to outside of these evacuation zones. But if you don't have a plan, we are beginning the process today of opening some emergency shelters. These shelters will open today at 3 p.m. to help support those that would like to move a little bit early. These 3 shelters are Island Coast High School in North Cape Coral, Dunbar High School in Fort Myers, and Estero Recreation Center in Estero. All Lee County shelters accept pets. You must have them in a crate or on a leash. And for more information about the shelters that are open, please visit leegov.com/storm. Again, you don't necessarily need to leave today. You only need to be in a safe place by Tuesday evening. Tomorrow morning, we will announce more shelters that will be available to the community. But we encourage you to make more comfortable arrangements by staying with a friend or family.
Those areas are highlighted there in the red and the orange on your screen, which is pretty much the barrier islands, a lot of Cape Coral, down into Bonita Springs, and up the Caloosahatchee River. So if you are if you can see water from your house, it's pretty much assured that you are being told to evacuate the area. You don't have to go, to northern Florida. You don't have to go far. Just go a little bit inland, get closer to the interstate, and you should be okay. This encompasses much of Estero, North Fort Myers, again, Pine Island, Cape Coral, and the McGregor corridor. The shelters in Lee County are opening today at 3 o'clock. They are at Island Coast High School, Dunbar High in Fort Myers, the Estero Rec Center, and they expect to open more shelters as the day goes on. These shelters all accept pets, but you have to have them in a crate and bring your own food.
Collier County is also issuing a mandatory evacuation recommendation right now for Zone A and Zone B. They did say we can expect some updates on that, but for now, They are saying they recommend you go ahead and make a plan, get a little further inland if you can. Take a look. Zone A here in red, B in orange. This encompasses Marco Island, Goodland, Naples, Vanderbilt Beach. Same deal. If you're near water, you are in that area. Effective 6 a.m. tomorrow, so they want you to have a plan by then. And in Charlotte County, the county is ordering people in Zone A and B to evacuate. This map shows the area shaded in red and orange, so if you live in those areas, they want you to go ahead and get to somewhere safer, also that area in orange. People in manufactured and mobile homes, they are also told it's a good idea to leave right now, no matter what zone you're in.
Yeah, in Charlotte County, Port Charlotte, Englewood, basically if you can see water from your house, any of the barrier islands along the Peace River, you should get out now. There are 5 shelters in Charlotte County, the Harold Avenue Rec Center, Babcock Ranch Field House, they're open now, and tomorrow 3 more will open at Kingsway Elementary School, Liberty Elementary, and Neil Armstrong Elementary.
I mean, the people in the barrier islands of Charlotte County are already dealing with a lot of cleanup after Helene, and now being told to evacuate again right in the middle of that cleanup.
NBC2's Zuri Hoffman is live on Englewood Beach right now.
Yeah, guys, well, people have been doing whatever they can to get prepared for Hurricane Milton. We can see this huge mound of sand here, and so many people have been coming here to get their sandbags. We do know from emergency services, emergency management, I should say, that sandbags actually ran out. So people have actually been coming here, getting sand and filling it up that way. So we actually want to speak with some folks. Hi there, guys. How are we doing today?
Good.
Good. So you have a lot of sandbags here. Can you just tell us how you heard about this site and if you were having a difficult time getting sandbags and that's why you decided to come here?
Yeah, so we heard it from a family member. The couple places they have over here, the lines are insane. And we heard they're running out of bags as well. And so we were told about this place. And before we came, somebody was nice enough to give us some bags, and then we bought some on the way here, last ones, and everybody else is out of them. So it's getting down to every little bit of it, but anything is better than nothing.
And where do you live? Do you live near the water?
Yeah, so we live in South Venice, Zone B, which I just got a text message saying that we have to evacuate. But I think we're going to hunker down. There's nowhere to go. The traffic's everything, so we're just going to hunker down and ride it out.
Well, you be very careful, be very safe. Thank you so much for speaking with us today. We really appreciate it. And so that's what we're hearing from a lot of folks. They are coming here once again, doing whatever they can to prepare for this storm. We should mention, though, a lot of folks here in Charlotte County, especially near Englewood Beach, they were really inundated by Helene. I mean, if you can look here and just see all the debris lining the streets here, they have a lot of debris here. At this point, though, from folks we've been hearing from, folks we've been speaking with, they're concerned that crews won't be able to get all of this debris by the time Hurricane Milton hits. So that's the concern at this point. Folks, though, again, they're boarding up their homes. We can see another homeowner here has their door boarded up as well. So really playing it by ear, folks just trying to be prepared, making sure they're doing whatever they can to mitigate the damage as much as possible. For now, we're live on Englewood Beach. I'm Zuri Hoffman. Back to you.
Communities in Charlotte County along the coast and Charlotte Harbor often flood even in a tropical storm. So Punta Gorda, Englewood, Port Charlotte, they're still trying to clean up from Hurricane Helene less than 2 weeks ago. NBC2's Rachel Whalen is live in Charlotte County.
That school, along with USF, Florida Polytech, Polk State College, all canceled classes tomorrow and Wednesday. Florida Southern College is using a virtual format for classes today and tomorrow and is canceling classes Wednesday through Friday. Emergency management officials are urging you to make preparations now if you haven't yet. You really have today and tomorrow to get your home and family ready. Multiple sandbag sites are now open. ABC Action News reporter Larissa Scott has more on preparations.
Mold and water in them, and they need to get rid of them, and now they have to brace for another storm. This home in particular, I spoke with the homeowner here. She told me that during Helene, the flood waters got all the way to, if you take a look at her lanai, where the screen starts. So that is like over a foot of water that got into her home. She tells me she lost nearly everything, every appliance. She also was in tears telling me that she lost her cats shortly after Hurricane Helene too. So she's just really feeling devastated, and now she has to brace for yet another storm. But she has people and family out here helping get her things together, and she is going to evacuate. We actually saw a police car drive by multiple times, saying in the loudspeaker that this is an evacuation zone, you need to evacuate. So this area we know is very at risk, and there's still a lot of debris on this street, a lot of stuff. If you go all down this street and really all over this area, there's just piles and piles of items. The county tells us that they are working around the clock to get this all picked up before we start to see more storm surge, before we start to see those high winds. So that is what they are working on right now. And we are going to keep monitoring these conditions for you. We're going to keep talking to these people out here, learning about their stories, how they're getting through things. But for now, I will send it back over to you guys. I'm reporting in Punta Gorda. Rachel Whalen, NBC2.
On Himes Avenue is open until 7 o'clock tonight. For details on other locations where you can get sandbags today, head to abcactionnews.com. Reporting in Tampa, Larissa Scott, ABC Action News.
In preparation of Hurricane Milton, St. Pete officials will be helping residents with evacuations. Coming up next, details on PSTA fare-free services.
On behalf of ABC Action News Gives, the Scripps Howard Fund,
and know that your sheriff's office, we have deployed all our resources. Lee County's over 1,200 square miles, and we have deployed resources everywhere. The beach ends, we know the low-laying areas, obviously Fort Myers Beach, Sanibel, Captiva, Boca Grande, and all over. Okay, ATVs, the shallow water boats, the high water rescue vehicles, everything is already deployed, manpower is allocated. We are ready for anything that comes our way, but we pray for the best. And our thoughts and prayers are those that were just affected with Helene across the state. So please, if nothing else today, pay very close attention and get out of harm's way. When we hit a sustained wind of 45 miles an hour or more, we no longer respond. The Sheriff's Office, EMS, fire, all the local personnel, emergency responders will not be able to get to you. And then it is too late. So make sure you take action today, be proactive, get to a safe place no matter what. And afterwards, like the commissioner said, we can rebuild buildings, we can fix roadways, but we can't bring back lives. And we never want to lose one person. Safety is always going to be paramount. And rest well knowing that the great people in this county who are standing here, the decision makers, we got you. We got you every step of the way. Your safety is paramount, and we will ensure it. We ask of you to help us and be part of that team. So we'll be giving you updates throughout the storm. But again, Mother Nature being unpredictable, get out of harm's way now. It's most important. It's my honor to introduce our family from the Florida Highway Patrol, Lieutenant Greg Bueno. Thank you. Thanks, sir. Thank
you. Good afternoon. The Florida Highway Patrol is focusing on keeping our evacuation routes open and free-flowing as possible. Additionally, as the week progresses, we will be assisting with our local and county partners at every activated emergency operations center across the state and with any requested missions. We too want to reiterate the importance of following the advice of your local county operations centers and officials. If traveling to another area, be sure to have a plan in place, all needed supplies for your family, and that your vehicle is in good working condition. And as a reminder, it's better to evacuate sooner than later. Star FHP is available as a service to the public should motorists need assistance. Stay calm, stay informed, and stay safe. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I'd also like to add to that, this storm is unprecedented. We haven't seen a storm that's come across so much water like this directly at us. So it could be catastrophic. So let's all pay attention. The next 24 hours is going to be very important, obviously, and we want everyone to be safe. So you're going to get a lot of communication. Please pay attention, and if we're asked to leave, please leave. At this time, I'm going to bring up Ben Abus to answer some questions. So thank you.
Any questions?
So around what time do you expect to maybe possibly send out other evacuation orders?
We're constantly evaluating the current intensity, track, and especially the storm surge forecast. We get those updates from the Weather Service now every 3 hours with a full package every 6 hours. Every time those forecast cycles occur, we're constantly reevaluating that information.
What are you going to save? You need to save your lives. Your lives matter.
Before you leave Fort Myers Beach, Vice Mayor Jim Alterholt says you should prepare your home, move debris inside, and take pictures of the inside and outside of your homes and businesses for insurance purposes.
A whole round of new pictures or video of your home, exterior, interior, same as the businesses. I think that's going to be a really big deal because these insurance companies have been very difficult to deal with, and the more documentation you have to prove your case, you're going to be a lot better off.
Now, the vice mayor says if you cannot make it out by 3 p.m., that is okay. They're not stopping people from leaving later. But either way, he says he does want to see people leaving Fort Myers Beach by today. I'm live on Fort Myers Beach. Kennedy Mason, NBC2.
And we're going to get back out to our meteorologists, of course. They are tracking this storm and will be here for you until it passes. So let's get out to meteorologist Tim Dickey.
You know, the one thing we're afforded when it comes to hurricanes is time. You know, we are tracking this storm closely. We know it is headed in the general direction of the Florida Gulf Coast. We still have today. We still have tomorrow. Yes, I know it's raining, and we'll be dealing with some flooding on the roadways. 2 days, too. If you're in the evacuation zone, get out if you can. Find some place. You don't have to go all the way across the state. You don't have to get out of the state. Just find somebody in a higher evacuation zone, Zone C, Zone D, and that's all you got to do. Get yourself out of the surge zone here with this storm. Category 5, Hurricane Milton. Rapid intensification, to say the very least. You know, the threshold for rapid intensification, the textbook definition, only a 35-mile-per-hour wind increase in 24 hours. Man, we have topped that in a big way. Think back to early this morning. This was only a Category 1 hurricane. 36 hours ago, this is only a tropical storm. Just formed 48 hours ago. So this thing has sped up just about as quick as a hurricane can. As we zoom in on the high-resolution satellite presentation, this is the perfect structure to a hurricane. Basically, again, you look up a textbook definition of a major Category 5 hurricane, that's what you see, that perfect circle, that circular eye. You can see right down from space to the surface of the ocean through the eye of Milton right now as it looks to parallel the Yucatan. Now, as I look at sort of the motion, I'm not seeing enough of a southern component to it to think that this will make a landfall here on the Yucatan. We'll be watching perhaps a little bit of disruption to the core from some land interaction here, but it does look to stay offshore going forward. So there's your current wind field, and this is a tiny little compact storm. That's some good news. You know, we tell you all the time, every storm is different. 2 weeks ago, we were tracking Helene for you. That was a massive wind field with that storm. As it paralleled Florida's coast, the wind field was over 500 miles wide. In this case, 150 miles. And that's the tropical storm force winds. Remember, when you see those high-end hurricane force winds coming up over the next couple of hours, those winds are in a very localized area around the center of the storm. We call it the eye wall. And even just the hurricane winds, so anything over 75 miles per hour, is only in an area about 50 miles wide, meaning you would have to get within 25 miles of the center to experience those hurricane winds. Now, we will likely see the wind field expanding as this approaches Florida's Gulf Coast. We'll also likely be seeing the storm weaken somewhat as it approaches the coast. The expectation is it will peak in intensity later today, tomorrow morning, and then begin a slow weakening process as it nears the coast. I want to show you this. This is the wind field expanding as we go forward in time. This is just one depiction from the American or GFS forecast model, so don't take this necessarily as ground truth, but I want to show you this as an example of what we're watching for. You know, oftentimes with storms, we talk about how it doesn't necessarily matter where the center is going to go, but in the case of the winds, it is going to matter where the center goes because that's where we'll see the extreme wind impacts, exactly where the core tracks on shore. So there we are. By Wednesday morning, you have your hurricane winds due west of Florida. That's in the orange here of southwest Florida, that is. We're in the tropical storm force wind field at this point. There's your hurricane force winds going to Tampa. Again, just one model depiction. Note, it's still awfully close to coastal Charlotte County, just a matter of 10 to 20 miles southward, and we are in those hurricane winds. So it's why we'll be tracking the center of this closely as it moves by. And at the very least, we're talking tropical storm force winds across the board with this storm once again. There's your chance, your percent chance of hurricane force winds. This comes directly from the National Hurricane Center. Highest chances as you get west of 41 in Lee County, Charlotte County, and in western DeSoto County, the highest chances.
As it heads towards the wind shear profile on Wednesday, that will allow it to weaken a little bit before it moves onshore and makes landfall across West Florida. So again, we have seen Milton rapidly strengthen. It's a major hurricane today, and we're seeing this remain at major hurricane strength tonight and into tomorrow. The highest surge, the most impactful weather arrives on Wednesday, especially Wednesday afternoon and evening. So here's the latest. Our tropical impacts, heavy rain and storms likely on Wednesday. Flood watch will continue from today, tomorrow into Wednesday. Gusts up to 90 miles per hour, may have higher gusts than that as well. We'll have our team with meteorologist, Chief Meteorologist Matt Devitt coming on later in the afternoon. Stay up to date with him as his information can be upgraded and heightened. Again, we have that threat for tornadoes on Wednesday morning, midday, afternoon, and evening. And again, that threat for storm surge, 5 to 10 feet for Lee and Charlotte counties, 4 to 7 feet across portions of Collier County. This is one of two systems. The first system we're watching is bringing heavy rain right now. And for more impacts on the heavy rain and why we're seeing the impacts here locally, let's go to meteorologist Lauren Kreidler.
Yeah, we're seeing those rain bands work through our area, and that is completely separate from Hurricane Milton. Seeing that rain push its way through our area, looking at Wink Live Doppler 3X radar, and we see that rain continuing to work its way through primarily Fort Myers south towards Collier County. We have that flood advisory in place. Some moderate to heavy rainfall, so if you're making those preparations, just keep in mind that we are seeing some rain, again, separate from Hurricane Milton, push its way through, even a flood advisory issued for portions of Collier County. Looking at that 3-day forecast as we go throughout the next couple of days, rain and storms for today, like we're already seeing, it's going to be on and off. You will have some breaks from some of those rain showers, but seeing mostly cloudy skies throughout the day.
That's sort of what our futurecast shows. There goes the center of the storm up towards Tampa, but note, where are the onshore winds? Over us here in southwest Florida. In particular, as the wind field sort of expands on this model, the strongest of the onshore winds are aimed right here, coastal Charlotte County, into parts of Lee County. And we know that is not where you want to be. The onshore winds bring the threat of storm surge. Water rises from the low pressure of the hurricane and from the onshore winds that takes that water and forces it onshore. So yes, we are talking the potential for a significant, potentially life-threatening storm surge. That is why evacuation orders have been put out for much of our coastline here in southwest Florida, especially zones A and B. Charlotte, Lee, into Collier County. And I've been getting flooded with questions since those evacuation orders have come out. Hey, I don't know what my zone is. How do I find what my neighborhood, what my home, what zone I live in? And with more advice on how you can look that up yourself at home, I'll send it over to Jesselyn Ferenc. Good afternoon, Jesselyn.
Hey, good afternoon. Yeah, it's actually very simple to find where your home is located on the evacuation maps. Now, when we are telling you about those evacuations, this is all
So again, that timing has changed just a little bit, but that's the biggest change we have seen with the storm here as we have been working through the last 24 or 36 hours. By Friday, conditions are improving and we're back to better weather for cleanup and recovery, and that will continue all the way through the weekend. We'll have another update for you coming up in just a few more minutes.
Like you can see that here on the right of your screen. If you just scroll down halfway through, instructions to know your zone, know your home. So it's going to take you to a site that looks like this. You can see that coloring along the coastline. Those are all the different evacuation zones along Florida. Now, I typed in our station here, and it shows you exactly where your home is located. You can see that icon right around in here, and it lets me know my zone. So if you're getting those notifications to your phone, that zone's A, which is that dark red color, or even zone B, which is that orange color for Lee County, that's where it's going to be telling you. It's going to be right to the right over here, and it'll tell you exactly what your zone is. And from there, you can actually click on links to show you your county's emergency management office and what kind of evacuations are issued right now. Lee County also has a very fantastic tool on their website as well. You can see in bold there, know your zone. Right underneath it, there's a link, find my evacuation zone. Same kind of situation. You can click right there and type in your address. Same kind of thing for Charlotte County. So there's different ways that you can find your evacuation zone. It's very simple. It's just a quick Google search. And of course, the number one thing that we're going to be seeing with this potential with Milton is going to be that impact of storm surge. So of course, we want to keep you safe. They're giving those evacuation orders already.
Milton moves toward the Bay Area. ABC Action News reporter Chad Mills spoke with residents in a Hudson mobile home park who said they have nowhere left to go.
I'm Chad Mills in Hudson, standing inside a mobile home where the floors are literally caving in after flooding from Helene. Pasco County says these homes in this mobile home park are no longer safe for living. But how do you walk away from everything you own? Hopeless doesn't even describe it.
This is making me crazy. What do we do?
What Rhonda Farley is feeling right now is something worse.
I don't have anywhere to go. I'm a senior. We retired here. You know, what are we going to do?
At the Gulf Breeze Mobile Home Park in Hudson, almost every home flooded during Helene, including Farley's.
I was scared to death. I never called my daughter. I called her and said, you have to get me rescue, get me out of here. I'm scared. I can't swim. I'm going to drown.
And a week later, she and the other neighbors feel forgotten, overlooked, lost, and they're angry because Pasco County has declared many homes here unsafe since floors and electrical outlets were compromised by the flooding. Neighbors worry their homes will be condemned next.
I don't know what tomorrow's going to look like, honey. I don't.
The county is urging Gulf Breeze mobile homeowners to go to the county shelter in Hudson, where they'll get a safe place to sleep and access to resources and case managers who can help them navigate next steps. But neighbors like Farley aren't willing to leave and fear walking away from these homes could lead to homelessness.
You know, we're old. What are we supposed to do?
A handful of volunteers like Amy Fisher are doing what they can to get the homes livable again, but it's not enough.
There are ones here that aren't touched yet because I'm only one person.
And the beyond hopeless feeling here isn't going anywhere unless more help arrives. If you or someone you know can help in this community, we put all the contact information you need on our website, abcactionnews.com. In Hudson, Chad Mills, ABC Action News.
Gas prices across the state of Florida are dropping. Coming up next, where prices stand in Tampa, St. Pete, Clearwater, and Sarasota.
Skating for over 45 years has taken a toll on my body. I take Cunol turmeric because it helps with healthy joints and inflammation support. Why Cunol? It has superior absorption compared to regular turmeric. Cunol, the brand I choose.
In Sarasota at a standstill right now. I can also see that going across Alligator Alley, traffic is incredibly backed up as well. People who are heading west to Miami to get out of the way of the storm. If we go a little farther north, you can see all the red in here, and you can see just absolutely backed up. This is in the Tampa area, in the Bradenton area. You can see that a lot of people, it's good news, they're heeding the warning. But again, if you are looking to get on the road, expect delays, expect that you are going to, if your route to, let's say, northern Florida usually takes, you know, a couple hours, well, it's going to take a lot more, 8, 9, maybe 10 hours. And be aware that we are getting word that some stations, gas stations along the interstate are running out of fuel. So make sure you fuel up before you leave.
Certainly good to know before you head out. And Collier County has issued evacuation orders for Zone A and B, along with Charlotte and Lee counties. Alexa Velez is live on Washington Avenue in East Naples, showing us what she's seeing there.
Yeah, hi guys, good afternoon. We've been driving around town all day, all morning, looking out how people have been preparing for the storm, looking
Live television, and a lot of times our equipment doesn't exactly agree with what rainy conditions, so we'll try to get back to Alexa.
Right. You see some of that flooding already, though. Yeah. Some light ponding in the roads.
That's from the storm. I believe, Jim, that's from what was ahead of the hurricane, not from the hurricane itself.
Oh, yeah, that's our precursor system.
We're getting Jim's mic on.
Can you hear Jim?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
We got you.
That's from the precursor system. I'm going to be on Doppler 1, by the way, on the ABC side, and the ABC links Doppler 1. But yeah, that's from our precursor low that is bringing heavy rainfall here today. We're still days away from the true impacts from Milton. Now, what we've been tracking for you this morning, the rapid intensification continues with Milton. We're up to Category 5 intensity with the storm in the southwestern Gulf of Mexico, nearing the Yucatan Peninsula, the western side of the Yucatan Peninsula. A change in the last 24 hours is that the landfall time has backed off. We were talking yesterday a landfall at Wednesday morning. Now we're talking Wednesday afternoon, Wednesday evening, potentially even into the overnight Wednesday into early Thursday morning. Hurricane watch in effect for all of Southwest Florida now. If you're watching earlier on this morning, our inland counties, our inland areas were under a tropical storm watch. You've been upgraded to a hurricane watch as well. What that means, that hurricane conditions, 75+ mile per hour winds are possible in the next 48 hours. This will be upgraded to a warning in all likelihood as Milton approaches. And then the storm surge watch. That is our primary concern here, our main concern from Milton. We are, as we all know, unfortunately, very vulnerable to storm surge flooding here in Southwest Florida. There's your storm surge watch up and down the coastline. It does include interior portions of Charlotte County along Charlotte Harbor. It does include along the Caloosahatchee in parts of Lee County, down through coastal Collier as well. And there's your peak surge forecast from the National Hurricane Center. 5 to 10 foot storm surge water rises. Coastal Lee County and coastal Charlotte County, including Charlotte Harbor, but you're not far from those 8 to 12 foot water rises. I just talked about it a few moments ago. Even if the center goes into the Tampa area, we are still going to be in the area of strongest onshore winds. With the center going to our north, that sort of maximizes our storm surge potential. This is why the evacuation orders are out. They don't put out evacuation orders for wind. They don't put out evacuation orders for rain. They are designed to show you the threat for storm surge in your particular location. If you've been asked to evacuate, it's for the potential for storm surge in your neighborhood. Now let's dive in and take a look at a couple of these neighborhoods. The storm surge threat. These numbers come directly from the National Weather Service, and this is a somewhat unprecedented storm surge threat for Charlotte County. If you were watching in the lead up to Ian, we were showing you maps that showed similar numbers in the lead up to Ian. But as you recall, Ian made landfall to the south of Charlotte County, and therefore we were seeing offshore winds. They were awfully strong, but offshore winds in Port Charlotte and Punta Gorda. Now with those onshore winds, the water is drawn up Charlotte Harbor into the Peace River, and we are talking 6 foot plus water rises across much of downtown Punta Gorda, across much of Port Charlotte, especially areas south and west of 41 into El Jobin. We are talking 6 foot plus water rises. Similar heights, if not slightly higher, water rises from the storm surge. Coastal Charlotte County, southern side of the Cape Hayes Peninsula, including Placida, we are talking 6 to 9+ feet of storm surge. Manasota Key, Englewood, we are talking 6+ feet of storm surge. We dive southward into Lee County. Again, the number's a little bit lower here than what we're seeing in Charlotte, but still similarly high, hence the evacuation orders. As we dive in, Fort Myers Beach, the potential to be under 3 to 6 feet of water. We're seeing Iona McGregor, 6 feet plus, right along the river here, broadly 3 to 6 feet of water. That jumps up into parts of the Cape as we go south of Cape Coral Parkway, especially get into the southeast corner of the Cape near the Yacht Club. That's where we're talking 3 to 6 feet plus of storm surge. And there is downtown Fort Myers in the 3 to 6 foot plus range. We've seen, unfortunately, crests in that range with the last couple of storms we've seen. I suspect we will see similar water rises in downtown Fort Myers from this one. And even miles and miles away from where landfall is expected at this point into coastal Collier County, we are likely to see some pretty significant water rises here, 3 to 6 foot storm surge all up and down the coast of Collier County. I believe we're saying we have the 2 o'clock advisory in. Is that? Go ahead and take Doppler 2 real quick.
NBC Doppler 2.
NBC Doppler 2 as we'll take a look at that.
Yeah, so we just got the advisory in early at 2 o'clock, likely because the hurricane hunters are in there and they sampled some higher winds. So it is a Category 5 hurricane with winds now up to 175 miles per hour as that pressure continues to drop, an indication that the storm continues to deepen and strengthen. So the pressure 911 millibars. Earlier this morning when we came in, it was a Category 1 hurricane with winds, I believe, around 80, 85. And we've jumped up to 175 miles per hour. So that's an early look at the 2 o'clock advisory on Hurricane Milton, Jim.
Yeah, there's only a handful of storms that you can sort of point to that have seen this type of intensification, certainly in the Gulf of Mexico, but some storms I think of, Wilma went through a similar rapid intensification, but that was in the Caribbean Sea. To see a storm strengthening this quickly in the southwest Gulf of Mexico, and to be taking a potential path that really doesn't have much precedent in the last century. Really historic stuff going on here. Of course, we continue to track Hurricane Milton for you. We're going to have a full update from meteorologist Jason Dunning from Lauren Hope coming up for you in just a couple of moments.
They've suffered a devastating loss, and unfortunately this storm is coming right at us again. If you've been able to salvage items from your home and you find yourself in need of sheltering, we can provide shelter. But make sure that you've registered with FEMA for your FEMA assistance. Make sure that you have registered with Hope Florida if you needed housing assistance. Those efforts are not going to stop, and then more assistance will be available following this disaster. So help is out there, but just be safe. Above all else, be safe.
All right, so you were just listening to leaders in Manatee County talking about Hurricane Milton prep. So you just heard they are opening 8 shelters in the county to help people who are going to evacuate. Those shelters will open at 2 p.m. today, so in really less than a half hour. And the main message you heard from those leaders, every single one of them who spoke, is to evacuate if you're told to. Manatee County expanded evacuation orders to levels A, B, and C. That's new here at 1:30. C is now included. This also includes everyone living in RVs and mobile homes. And beginning tomorrow, Manatee County buses will actually bring people to shelters, so you have a free ride to get to the shelter if you're in that evacuation zone and you're trying to get out. You can also call 311 if you have any questions. For now, we'll send it back to your regularly scheduled programming, and we'll see you back here at 3 o'clock for ABC Action News at 3. Back in August. There are 3 ways to apply. The quickest is online at disasterassistance.gov. You can also apply by using the FEMA app for mobile devices or calling toll-free 800-621-3362. Homeowners or renters in 13 counties, including Sarasota and Manatee, may be eligible for assistance for basic home repairs, personal property losses, and other disaster-caused expenses. We're taking an in-depth look at something called the FEMA 50-50 rule. ABC Action News reporter Micah Palooza.
Is in Estero right now, taking a look at how people are trying to prepare.
The San Carlos Fire District here off of Alico Road at Oriole Road just got in a shipment of sand, and it is already going fast. You see people are filling up their bags out here and just floating the sand right in, shoveling it in there. I mean, dozens of people have lined up here, and if you just actually take a look, some people are just sitting. So many people are on the floor. This way you can see a line just forming. People are still trying to get all of these sandbags to protect their home as Hurricane Milton comes in here. So if you need some sand, as of right now, they still have some sand left, but it is going very quickly. Right now, I'm Sarah Mankiewicz in Estero. Back to you.
We're trying to update people on our website continuously about where the sand shipments are coming in, but by the time we get it on alerting people, it's already gone. So the sand situation is a difficult one. What is blowing my mind in 32 years of covering hurricanes here in Florida, almost 33, is what you just said about the winds of the storm right now.
About going from a Cat 1 earlier this morning and now up to a Cat 5. Earlier, before this latest jump.
Say the number.
175 mile per hour winds is what we're looking at. Yeah, I mean, that's
mind-blowing.
A historical type of rapid intensification. It's in a very favorable environment. I don't think there was any indication from our forecast modeling that we could see it happen that quickly. You know, these things do happen. I mean, this was tied for third or something for the fastest storm to intensify.
I think that's what Jim said a little while ago.
But now it actually may have surpassed it based on this latest update from the National Hurricane
Not a
Center.
record you want to break.
Yeah, that rare track too. I mean, when we saw that 2 o'clock advisory come in early just now, and you heard Jim say, wow. It's not something you want to hear as you're tracking a hurricane that's headed toward us.
But it won't be in that environment that it's in right now up until landfall.
Right.
We do
That's
expect
the good
it to
news.
weaken.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's the important thing to really stress. Just because it's strengthening now doesn't mean that trend will continue. It's in a very pristine environment for intensification. As it heads closer to Florida's coast, it's going to move into a much less favorable environment, but we're still talking about a major storm impacting our area, so I don't want to take anything away from that. We're still going to see significant impacts, it looks like, here along our coastline in Southwest Florida. But there you see it, the number that Kelly was referring to, 175 mile per hour maximum sustained winds. So that, again, is a Category 5 hurricane. We got in this morning around 2 o'clock. It was a Category 1 hurricane. That is the textbook definition of what we call rapid intensification. It is a very compact storm. We say each storm is different. This kind of reminds me, of Hurricane Charlie in terms of the size of it. We've seen some other storms actually just a couple weeks ago. Hurricane Helene had just a very wide swath of hurricane force winds and tropical storm force winds. So what we're looking at now with these circles, this shows us how wide the hurricane force winds are. So the hurricane force winds are right through here where we're tracking those peak winds up to 175 miles per hour. That goes just over 50 miles across, and the diameter of the tropical storm force winds goes about 160 miles across. With Helene, the tropical storm force winds for about 400 to 450 miles across. So the size of the storm is really important. We do expect it to grow a little bit larger as it continues to move closer to the Florida Gulf Coast. This is that 2 o'clock update again. Just want to show you the new forecast cone. It's going to be a brand new cone by the 5 o'clock advisory, but expected to remain as a major hurricane, likely Category 5 strength through the night tonight into tomorrow, and then take a turn to the northeast. The trend has been our friend somewhat through the course of the day. You remember yesterday we saw a shift to the south. Now we've seen just a subtle nudge to the north, but we're still going to be on the south side of that storm come Wednesday afternoon and Wednesday night. And that's where the winds are going to be blowing onshore. So storm surge, it looks like, is something that we are going to have to deal with, unfortunately, and that's the most life-threatening, sort of the most grave impact that you could see from a tropical system. So we should take this storm very seriously. Here's the American forecast model. I just want to show you the American and the European forecast model. And they're in pretty remarkable agreement with respect to location. Both storms, or rather both models, have slowed down the forward progress a little bit. And that's why you've seen that change reflected in the National Hurricane Center's forecast cone. So this is by Wednesday night at 10 p.m. The American, at least for now, as it going closer to Tampa and Sarasota. But I want to point out the circulation around the storm on the southern side would bring some powerful winds onshore, and that's what's going to help to generate that life-threatening storm surge up to 5 to 10 feet along our coast. I want to show you a comparison of the American compared to the European forecast model. The main difference that we're seeing here is right here, the timing. This shows the landfall later, closer to Thursday morning at 5 a.m. The location is very similar, and the location could still change, but I just want to kind of prepare you for the possibility of maybe this slowing down even more. It doesn't mean it's going to stall on top of us. It just means it might take a little bit longer to get to the Florida Gulf Coast. Let's go county by county to talk about the impacts where you are, because I know that's the most important thing. And for Lee County, peak storm surge 5 to 10 feet along the coast, 3 to 6 feet along the Caloosahatchee River. The timing for that would most likely start Wednesday morning, Wednesday afternoon into Wednesday night. Max winds there, at least based on what we're looking at right now, 74 to 100 miles per hour possible on Wednesday. Rainfall 4 to 7 feet, so with flooding, rather 4 to 7 inches with flooding possible, and also power outages likely. Charlotte and DeSoto County, 5 to 10 feet of peak surge on Wednesday. I think the worst of the surge, based on what we're seeing now, would come late Wednesday into Wednesday night. Winds up to around 75 to 110 miles per hour possible. And then the other impacts, we're looking at 4 to 7 inches of rainfall with flooding likely, along with power outages. You should prepare to go without power for several days if we do see some of those hurricane force winds. And the peak surge across Collier County, 4 to 7 feet. So the farther south you go away from the storm, the surge numbers will drop. Winds up to 74 to 100 miles per hour. I think those will be the peak winds, and the timing for that will be Wednesday, 4 to 6 inches with flooding likely across sections of Collier County, especially coastal Collier County. And the last thing I want to show you across our inland areas, winds up to 60 to 70 miles per hour with spotty power outages and 2 to 4 inches of rainfall. For more on the watches and the warnings aspect of the storm, we'll send it over to meteorologist Lauren Hope. Lauren?
From the 2 p.m. update, it does appear that our watches have stayed consistent. So all of Southwest Florida is still under a hurricane watch. Remember, this means that those hurricane conditions are possible within the next 48 hours. We can go ahead and take this full. I want to walk you through if there's been any changes with our latest storm surge. It doesn't appear so. It appears we still have a storm surge watch in effect for all of Southwest Florida's coastal communities, as well as all of Lee County, including the areas near the Caloosahatchee River. So I want to show you the latest in the rainfall. We have been very unsettled with deep tropical moisture. These are not impacts from this hurricane quite yet. We're looking at a near washout heading into around tonight, 6, 7, 8 p.m. Still rounds of heavy rain, still unsettled throughout the day tomorrow, but at times some breaks from the downpours we were looking at. Off and on again, rain heading throughout tomorrow afternoon. And then here we go into Wednesday. The timing continued to get pushed back. So now looking at a landfall along Florida's Gulf Coast by Wednesday night, perhaps even as early into Thursday morning. So we're going to be looking for that. As of now, still expecting to see the center of this storm well off of our coast as it makes its pass generally toward the north. But this is that time frame. Take a look at the timestamp, Wednesday at 8 p.m., where we are going to see that onshore wind and the storm surge threat. So what you do not want to happen when we're talking about storm surge is you don't want to see those onshore winds and that peak storm surge coinciding with high tide. And if this landfall timing holds, is subject to change, but it would be coinciding with our low tide across many communities. Low tide at Charlotte Harbor, 3:26 p.m. on Wednesday. High tide not kicking in until Thursday morning. But again, pay close attention to the landfall. If we see that landfall pushed back to Thursday morning, this would be a worse storm surge concern for us. Point Bell, low tide 12:47 on Wednesday, high tide 4:46 Thursday morning, and then downtown Fort Myers, low tide 4:22, high tide at 8:02 on Thursday morning. So it would be a greater impacts for Southwest Florida if we were able to see that landfall push back if the storm slows anymore. We are seeing Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, the big impacts, particularly heading into Wednesday. And I want to show you the latest again out of the 2 p.m. update we just got in, because it came in early and some pretty significant changes. It has strengthened once again, 175 mile per hour winds as this moves off toward the east at 9 miles per hour. I've gotten a lot of questions. Will this be a slow moving storm, just like storms like Ian were, which were crawling less than 10 miles per hour at landfall? And the good thing is we do expect this to pick up in forward speed. And as it works into an environment with higher wind shear, weakening back down to Category 4, potentially Category 3. But take that with a grain of salt. We're still talking a major hurricane landfall with life-threatening impacts, hurricane force winds, that life-threatening storm surge. You've seen the projections, 5 to 10 feet possible for parts of coastal Lee and Charlotte counties, and then crossing over into the Atlantic. We will start to see conditions locally improving heading into the weekend. All right, we'll have more team coverage on major Category 5 Hurricane Milton coming up.
Again, Fort Myers Beach, mandatory evacuation orders in place, and we have seen all afternoon the traffic on the bridge over the Matanzas Pass that you're looking at live right now. We have seen traffic diminishing, so hopefully people are off the beach. They're supposed to be off the beach by 3 o'clock today for those evacuation orders. They are telling people to stop by Town Hall. Old purple passes will no longer be valid. You can pick up your new pass so you can get back on the island.
Absolutely. So now's a good time. If you're thinking about leaving, you saw that traffic was a little lighter. Good time to head even a little bit further inland. If you have friends or family you can stay with. As we saw, the interstate is starting to get really backed up. So something to plan for, still an option to head out a little farther if you can.
Do we have that camera on Sanibel on the causeway? Can we take that camera as well?
Yeah, here's a look at the Sanibel Causeway right now. A live look out there. You can see also really light traffic right now. So if you are thinking about heading off the island, now is a good time.
Well, mandatory evacuations are in place for Sanibel, and you're supposed to be off the island tomorrow by 10 p.m. But if you can get off the island today, it's always a good idea because, you know, the Sanibel is just, you know, not the place a barrier island to ride out this storm.
Yeah, so vulnerable out there. And I mean, the traffic will likely only get worse. So there's no use waiting. It is a good time to just be better safe than sorry and listen to those mandatory evacuation orders for Zone A and B in Lee County, particularly our barrier islands.
Alexia Shiropoulos is on Fort Myers Beach with what people need to grab before they do leave the island.
We are here at the town hall in Fort Myers Beach where residents are coming in rather quickly today to get the remaining items that they need, and one of those items is this re-entry form. In order to get back on the island, once it is safe, you have to have proof that you live here, and in order to do that, you have to have one of these passes. Residents get 2 of these per household. This is just one of the things that we're monitoring on Fort Myers Beach. For now, though, I'm on Fort Myers Beach. Alexia Shiropoulos, back to you.
Alexia, thank you. Again, we are tracking Hurricane Milton. Winds are now up to 175 miles an hour. We got the 2 o'clock advisory. We're going to come back and go to our team of meteorologists to kind of really analyze what this means for our area.
Yeah, certainly. They'll hone in on each area of Southwest Florida, see what you need to know for your neighborhood. So stick with us on ABC7 as NBC2 as we track Hurricane Milton for you.
All right, we have some breaking news. The interstates, of course, people are leaving, which is a good thing. Mandatory evacuations in place in Collier, Lee, and Charlotte counties, but there are a number of crashes to tell you about. Southbound Punta Gorda, there is a crash and traffic is a mess. And I think the one we're looking at right here, this is in the Corkscrew area. A truck flipped over, and in both directions, you can see traffic is backed up. And we've been monitoring traffic cameras going across the alley and going to northern Florida. And you need to have your patience and make sure you fill up with gas and leave a lot of extra time.
Yeah, those wrecks not making it any easier, but good to know as you head out. And we're continuing to track Milton for you. We have our team of meteorologists combining forces with ABC7 and NBC2 here as we stick together through yet another big hurricane to track.
Yeah, it seems like Florida can't catch a break, but this is, with the situation that we're dealing with.
Yeah, and people are just hurting so much right now, and that's what just breaks your heart. You see the people who are still recovering along Iona and McGregor area and up in Charlotte County. They have waste from their home. Their couches are still at the curbside, and now they're looking at something else coming in. It's heartbreaking.
And then, 2 weeks ago, dealing with more flooding from Helene, some of the scenes in Punta Gorda. It's hard to envision a scenario where we don't see at least some significant impacts. I think the storm surge at this point, probably hard to avoid that aspect of the storm.
I'd agree, yeah.
The track is really going to be critical. The farther north that it goes, the better it looks for us.
And it's kind of doing that little by little every update. So let's be hopeful. And people do need to remember that it's just stuff. Keep yourselves safe.
There's an interview we had earlier. Just take care of yourself. Your life is what matters. And there's evacuation orders. I know people want to keep their stuff safe. They're worried about their home, things like that. But if you can get out of the storm surge zone, you don't want to be there when the storm surge comes in. Bottom line.
And a big problem we're having right now is I've been looking, trying to let people know almost all the hotels along the interstate are already booked.
Yeah.
And some hotels are even not honoring reservations. They're shutting down so their employees
they get
can
the people
evacuate.
out. Makes sense.
So where to go right now is a problem, and that's why we've been pushing people since last week to have a plan.
Yep.
Yeah, a lot of stress and anxiety, but having the plan now is good. And as we get closer to landfall, now is the time to listen to those mandatory evacuation orders for sure.
And we have a little more time. I mean, that's not to say that you should delay anything, but the timeline, the timetable has been pushed back a little bit with respect to when we're going to see the worst weather here in Southwest Florida. So this time yesterday, it was looking like, Wednesday morning would be the time. Now it's looking more like, Wednesday late afternoon, even Wednesday night. Some models even have this coming in early Thursday morning. So that gives us at least a little more time.
A little more time.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Oh, yes, I'm told. It's been a long day. I've been here since 2 o'clock in the morning.
Both of you are doing such a great job.
I was just waiting for it.
We know you're exhausted.
Yeah.
Now he's going to take it away.
What day is it? I mean, I could talk.
We appreciate
all day
all
here.
your work.
Okay. Hurricane Milton. Here's the latest. If you're just joining us, that 2 o'clock update from the National Hurricane Center. Just want to give you the close-up view first, and you can obviously tell this is a formidable storm. One of the most powerful storms that we have seen, and actually it breaks the record for the most powerful storm in the Gulf of Mexico this late in the calendar year. It's pretty remarkable. Usually we don't see a storm develop here and track over toward the Florida Gulf Coast. It's only happened twice in recorded history, in 1859 and 1888. But let's get into the forecast here, the latest forecast coming from the National Hurricane Center. We really haven't seen any major shifts with the overall track. It's still headed up toward the Florida Gulf Coast, so likely somewhere from Southwest Florida up into the Tampa Bay area, Sarasota, perhaps a little bit farther north near the Big Bend. We'll be able to really kind of hone in on more of an exact landfall point, but it looks like as far as the threats go for our area, to kind of time it out and help you visualize what kind of impacts we're going to see, the main one, the most important one to start with, is the storm surge. And we're not going to have to deal with that, it looks like, until Wednesday. And now that the timing has been pushed back a little bit more, we're thinking more Wednesday late morning into Wednesday night, perhaps even into Thursday morning. So we'll continue to adjust this based on the progress and evolution of the storm. And that would also line up with when we're going to see the highest wind. So that looks like through the day Wednesday, especially into Wednesday afternoon. And it's possible to see winds above 74 miles per hour. If the storm does come a little bit farther south, if it takes that southern track, then we would see the potential for winds over 100 miles per hour. Isolated tornadoes is something else we'll be watching for. You typically see that with tropical systems, especially if you're on the eastern, even the southern side of it. So the tornado threat would be Wednesday, starting Wednesday morning into Wednesday afternoon and Wednesday night. And then something else that I know is not ideal for us as we're trying to finish those preparations is the rain. We have quite a bit of rain moving into Southwest Florida today. We'll see more rounds of potentially heavy rainfall into Tuesday, and then some more rain once the storm comes in. So we're looking at a range of 4 to 7 inches of rainfall. And I know that doesn't sound like a lot during the rainy season. I mean, we have areas that pick that up in one day, but it's been a long and very wet rainy season, so the ground's already very soggy and saturated, so we're concerned with flooding too from just rainfall. And we have a flood watch in place for all of Southwest Florida until Thursday morning. So this is kind of the timeline of the threats that we're looking at. I was just speaking to Chief Meteorologist Allison Ray and Meteorologist Rob Duns. They are here, and we're going to kind of switch off, hand off the baton, and continue to track Hurricane Milton as we face significant impacts potentially here in Southwest Florida.
All right, thank you. I know you're off the clock soon, so you need to get some sleep. Thanks, Jason. Mandatory evacuation orders are being issued in Lee County. We told you they announced that in a live news conference at the noon hour. So look at this map. This is Lee County, and if you live in zones A or B, which is basically the Barrier Islands, much of Cape Coral, Pine Island, the Iona area, along the McGregor corridor, and along the river in Cape Coral, and then down into Estero, just to Bonita Springs. They're highlighted there in the red and orange on your screen. That is where the evacuation zones are in place. So all of the Iona neighborhood again, and if you go a little bit farther inland, you see that is not an evacuation zone. So if you need to get out and you have some friends that live in Lehigh Acres or somewhere inland, maybe along Corkscrew inland a little bit in Estero, go there. Shelters in Lee County are opening today in about an hour at Island Coast High School, Dunbar High, and Fort Myers, and the Estero Rec Center. These shelters accept pets. More shelters are expected to open tomorrow. If you bring your pet, you have to have a crate.
Collier County is also issuing a mandatory evacuation recommendation right now for Zone A and B. So Zone A is in red, Zone B is in orange. This encompasses Marco Island, Goodland, Naples, Vanderbilt Beach. Effective 6 a.m. is when they want you to have that plan and get somewhere safer if possible. In Charlotte County, the county is ordering Zone A and B to evacuate on this map. That is the red and orange shaded area as well. They also want people in manufactured and mobile homes to leave. They say now is the time, make that plan, and get somewhere safe.
There will be 5 shelters opening in Charlotte County so far at the Harold Avenue Rec Center, Babcock Ranch Field House. They're open right now, and then tomorrow you can go to Kingsway Elementary School, Liberty Elementary, or Neil Armstrong Elementary School.
So good to have that as a backup plan if you can't find a friend or family member to stay with. Storm surge and street flooding, obviously a big concern in Cape Coral. We see even with a big rainstorm, those streets flood fast.
Yeah, NBC2's Mercedes Martinez is live in the Cape for us right now, looking at the situation. There she was. Again, live television, wet equipment, sometimes it doesn't work so well. I do want to let you know that there is no trash pickup in Cape Coral until probably Friday or later this week, but it has been suspended at least for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And Lee County also announced that trash pickup has been suspended. So you don't want to be putting your trash out. Tomorrow is my regular trash day. I don't want to put my trash out to the curb because that, of course, would not be good with those heavy winds.
Certainly. And we'll try to get you back out to Cape Coral. We'll continue taking you around Southwest Florida to show you what's going on now in your neighborhood. But for now, we're going to take a short break and continue tracking Milton here on NBC2 and ABC7.